Does door-to-door evangelism still work today? Won't they think we're Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons? Aren't we just asking for doors to be slammed in our face?
As with all evangelism, it's the approach and the way that you do it that makes all the difference. Door-to-door can be a very friendly experience and strategic for your church too. You can reach people who are closest to your church, maybe even mapping out and systematically going through your entire suburb or town. And many people feel comfortable chatting in their own home who wouldn't feel so comfortable on the street or another public environment. Regarding the Jehovah's Witness stigma, don't worry about this. Introducing yourself and who you represent will clarify this. They will actually find it intriguing, as most people, to our shame, have never had a visit from a mainstream Christian before. There are two types of door-to-door: visitation and cold calling. If you're a minister or elder in a mainline denomination in particular, through visitation you have a massive opportunity to reach many in your community that have some sort of association with your church but don't actually attend. Where I grew up, there were hundreds of people on our church roll that identified with the church but never attended. They just received the quarterly church magazine. What an opportunity to visit and to share Christ. To do visitation, you contact people on your wider church register. Make a time where it would be good to pop by and drop off an invite to a church event like an outreach or alpha dinner. This is your foot in the door. Then, using the conversational approach, you can ask questions and see what their connection to the church actually is and what it means to them personally. As you come to understand what they believe and where they are at, it is not a big step to ask them if you could share something with them. A Presbyterian minister I know came to a course I ran on using the G7. I bumped into him later and he expressed the joy he had had in visiting people and sharing the gospel. For years he had been frustrated visiting people who were Christian by tradition only, not knowing how to discuss where they were at without offending them. He found the G7 quiz an excellent icebreaker and an opportunity to understand where they were coming from before going through the gospel presentation. Most responded positively to the message and he was finally able to talk at a deeper and more personal level. The second type of door-to-door is cold calling. This is going to a house with no previous connection whatsoever. It can be more difficult, but a number of different approaches still work. For example, surveys, a church getting to know the people in their neighbourhood, or invitations to a church or an outreach like Alpha. Here are some quick tips. Practice articulating who you are, who you represent, and why you're at their door. People like to know this information straight up. Consider using a tool. This can help start a conversation to get to know people and hopefully will lead to sharing the gospel. It's always nice to have something to give them too, an invitation, a tract or a card. And make notes of who you spoke with so that you can pray for them and remember their name when you make a follow-up visit. I was going out door to door and an elderly lady opened the door. As soon as she heard the word Christian, she cut in and asked, "You're not going to preach to me, are you?" I explained what I was doing and she looked skeptical. So I said to her, "How about this? How about we go through this together, and if any point you feel that I'm preaching to you, then simply say stop and I'll wish you well and leave you to your day." She agreed. So after a good connection through the quiz questions, I went through into the gospel presentation, wondering how she was going to respond. She understood, thanked me, and then said, "At least you're not like the other people who come to my door and preach to me," which was remarkable, as this is exactly what I'd just been doing, preaching the gospel. But because I showed a visual and interesting tool, kept it relaxed, didn't read Bible verses out of a big Bible, and talked with her rather than at her, she didn't feel like she was being preached at. Our approach really does matter. I hope that you've been inspired. Door-to-door conversations do work. It's all about the way you do it. For more help, there's a web link to a great door-to-door training session in your guide. We have one more session to go. Enjoy your discussion.